This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is a collaboration with the short film Liquor Bank. If you look in the show notes, you'll find everything you need to know about director Marcellus Cox and producer Adam Freed. If you want to support them and check out the short, go and follow all their socials and you can get more information there. Enjoy the show. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob, and it's another solo show this week, guys. And when the pod squad is away, I like to go and talk to other people in the industry. And before I speak, or introduce, I should say, my guest today, I want to talk to you quickly about a really wonderful film I watched much earlier this year called Liquor Bank. If you pay attention to the Instagram, you may have seen my reviews. I've watched this movie about half a dozen times this year. It's an incredibly powerful short film that tells the story of addiction and the road to recovery. It's a story of friendship and love and basically just the quest for help and knowing that things can get better if you try. I was really honored to be reached out to by the producer of the film, asking me to watch it before it hit its festival run. And after a little bit of scheduling, today I have both the producer and the writer-director of the short on. The producer, Adam Freed, is a Chicago-based critic. He's the founder of Movie Archer, and you might recognize him from the Revisionist Almanac with his many appearances. And the director, Marcellus Cox, is a LA-based filmmaker who's currently working on his second feature film, but we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So welcome to the show, Adam and Marcellus. Welcome, guys.
James, thank you so much for having us on. Really appreciate it. We've been kind of blindly perusing Instagram and looking for people that are, like-minded film lovers like we are. And, I was kind of introduced to you and ended up following your account. And I realized that you and your show would be a perfect opportunity, not only for Liquor Bank to go overseas, but also we thought it would be a great opportunity for you to maybe do something a little bit different in your show. We know you've been watching a lot of feature-length stuff and having some really in-depth conversations. And we said, well, hey, why not take a shot at a short here? And so we were so happy that you agreed to do so. And then, of course, having us on is just, the honor is all ours. So thank you.
I think it's been a really lovely relationship that's built because you guys very much opened the door for me. Once I reviewed Liquor Bank, I've been really busy. I've been super busy with independent filmmakers and short filmmakers. So it's been a wonderful gift you've given me. Not just those opportunities, but also just to watch this film. As I said, I've watched it probably 5 or 6 times. I watched it again this morning. I know this flick, and it still surprises me just how natural it is, how well made it is. I think in my initial review, I said it just feels like Marcel's put a camera down and said talk, and then just left and let them just be humans. And it's incredible. And what I love about the film, and we'll dive into it at some point, is it acts so well as a short story, but it also feels like it could be a part of a much larger film should you kind of decide to go down that route as well. Before we talk about it, let's get to know you guys. I'll start with you, Marcellus, because I'm a little bit less familiar with you. Where does your love of film begin? Have you been clearly you must love film. You're a filmmaker. Have you been a lifelong filmmaker? Film fan? Were you a fan as a kid? Is it something you kind of picked up as an adult? Where does that love affair begin for you?
Well, first, thank you for having me on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
So welcome.
I guess I always say my love of film always started with my grandmother. It's like around 9 years old. That's really where the love came in.
Yeah.
My grandmother, although she started her day job was an RN, she did photography as well, though on her side, and she always loved cinema, and it was always something that we always shared passionately about. And from her love for movies, but from the LA Rebellion, whether it was Charles Burnett or Julie Dash or Harmony Gandhi or Billy Woodbury. So that was really my real first major course into cinema, and then leading to other films that she loved, like Casablanca or Citizen Kane. I'll always say that she was more of a film snob than I am, because she could be very critical when it comes to movies, but I know that the love was real, and that love just grew from there. From the first time I saw a movie like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where I was just in awe of the storytelling, just in awe of the animation and the live action blend together. So that love just grew, and it grows even further. And it's been like that for like the last 20 plus years. So whether it was studying my craft in film school or just going on my own and working on sets as a PA and just working my way up to become a director and fine tuning my craft and just learning more, not just about actors and actresses, but just purely about what this craft really is. And I'm not just talking about in terms of what it can bring to you if you do things the right way. I mean, I would say that, but in terms of, because there is no right way in this business, it's always changing.
Yeah.
But in terms of, if you put your heart and your soul into this and what it could bring, like I love those things. But just in terms of what this craft is, the cinema form of it, just storytelling, of seeing the vision come to life, is there's no greater feeling, there's no greater profession, and my love continues to burn even more to this day. So for me, that's just a little bit about me, and I like to learn more about myself as an artist as I continue to make films.
That's awesome. First of all, I apologize to your grandmother. Clearly, I stole a title that she could have used based on her snobbery. So, full apologies to her. But that sounds. I love that you bring up Roger Rabbit. That's come up a lot this year on my show. I've had an actress on a few months back, and we did 3 hours on Roger Rabbit, pretty much.
Jeez.
And we were meant to talk about 5 movies. We only got through one. So. There's a lot of love for that one there. And I want to learn more about your journey. You mentioned working as a PA and stuff like that. So we will dive into that before we get to Liquor Bank. But Adam, I understand your journey's been quite different. I'm somewhat familiar with your side. I wouldn't say I know it inside and out, but I've read a bit about your story. So yours has been different from most. Where does it begin for you, and where does your love affair with movies begin?
Yeah, mine started in a video store, like a lot of kids that were born in the early 80s. I've told the story, but my mom used to put my brother and I on a timer, and she'd say, "All right, you can get this many VHS tapes, and we have to be out of here in 30 minutes because the pizza's getting delivered." And that was our Friday night, just about every night growing up. And
Nice.
between what my brother would pick and I would pick, I was the kid that was like addicted to reading the backs of every box before I
Yes.
could make a decision. And so I was just somebody that really fell in love with the way that the film art was presented on the cover of the box, the
Yes.
way that the story was represented in that short blurb on the back. I learned to read the credits at a very young age. Who's in this? Who do I want to see? And so it kind of started from there. Through college, I was not a journalism major. I actually majored in education.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't until COVID that I actually started my journey into film criticism. And that's the point when I built the website and I got into a critics organization. And so it's really been about 5 years, 5.5 years for me now in this vein. And it's been an unbelievable ride. And it's a ride that somewhere along the way introduced me to Marcellus.
Mm,
And we can kind of talk about our relationship as we get down the road here. But he was someone that I didn't know 5 years ago when I started
mm,
doing this. And like you just mentioned, James, you've had all these opportunities now since watching Liquor Bank that other independent filmmakers have reached out and they said, "Hey, you watch that? Will you watch this?" Well, that's exactly how the two of us met.
mm,
And it was through moviearcher.com that Marcellus reached out. And, things kind of dominoed from there. And
mm.
so that's how we're here today. And it's all because, he made a film that I was really passionate about. I was willing to take a look at it, which was great for me at the time. And so it just things kind of spiraled from there, which was kind of harmonious in the way that things have ended up.
There's so much I want to unpack there. First of all, I've spoken to so many people. People like to say the internet is a toxic place, and it definitely can be. But I've had
Mhm.
nothing but positive experiences, and it feels like COVID for a lot of people was a real game change. We're like, all right, we might not ever get out of the house again. What do I want to do with my time? And so many people have kind of, you mentioned you shifted from education to film criticism, and I'm seeing a lot of that. Like even filmmakers I've spoken to have now been like, all right, now that we're locked in, what do I really want to do? So I'm so glad that we could find something positive out of something so horrible and kind of debilitating. I want to jump back to the video store as well because I worked my first job. I worked in two video stores. Those are my first two jobs, and I was
Nice.
the box art kid as well. I think something that we've lost as filmmakers and film fans is the ability to hold something tangible in a store, to look at, and also the change in art. Like if you look at posters these days, it's often like let's position the 5 stars, in
Yep.
a certain symmetrical way, but the artistry and what I love about your film, Marcellus, or both of you, both your film, is that there feels like a bit of a return to form there. Like that poster, is so striking and just visually interesting, and it feels like a bit of a callback to the old Struzen drawings we would see. So I really appreciate that. There's not really a question here. I just want to say it's awesome.
Well, I want to
Like,
say thank you so much for bringing that up. And Marcellus and I were incredibly blessed. A really gifted artist in the Chicagoland area by the name of Chris Hodge. I reached out to him, and he is somebody that I had met before. And I reached out and I said, "Hey, we're on zero budget here for marketing, but it could be an opportunity for you to have your art seen, talked about across the seas as we're doing this interview." His name is Chris Hodge, and on Instagram, if you want to follow him, he's at C Hodge Art. And what you'll see right away is he's somebody who is deeply passionate, but he is someone who is going to hand draw. And so everything that you see on our poster, it started with a pencil sketch, and I would take a picture of it and I would send it off to Marcellus, and he would say, "Okay, what about this? What about that?" And from a simple pencil sketch, like the old bar napkin sketch, to ending up with the poster that we're so lucky to have from Chris. Um, and again, he did this work pro bono. He did this out of the goodness of his heart, and I think it holds up with every short film poster I've ever seen. I think it's truly special. So we
it's
were
gorgeous.
blessed.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. We were very blessed to have him be a part of our project.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Marcel's going back to your journey. You talked about you working as a PA. So we've obviously heard that Adam kind of shifted gears during COVID and stuff. Were you a film school kid? Did you kind of go from into college wanting to make films, or was there a bit of a pivot there for you? How did that journey of education, I suppose, begin for you?
For me, when I got to film school, I went in, and to be honest with you, I learned everything that I hated about film. Was in film school.
Yeah.
I've always tell filmmakers all the time, I think that is the biggest waste of money. Like literally, it's this film school, and particularly off top one, they teach you everything artistically that I think most of us kind of already go in already knowing. It's just a matter of fine tuning it, but we can do that on our own a lot of times just by shooting and just by practicing the craft. What they don't teach you is the actual business. And that's the perspective that I think a lot of filmmakers really need to learn, is actually dealing in the business perspective, because I felt like that's where I struggled early a lot. And just being able to make the connection, because my focus was always more on the art, which it still is, but I always felt that I struggled early on, and particularly those early 20s was in the business perspective. And I think that that's where film schools fail students. So I felt like if that was a more focus on that, then it could be beneficial. But I always will believe that film school is a waste of money. So for me, my focus went shift leaving film school, and then just getting to know filmmakers and working on sets, and always watching movies, watching my favorite filmmakers and then watching their favorite filmmakers. I felt like that was my film school. And just honing my craft and just really learning the fine arts and the fine tuning of cinema. So for me, that's really where it all kind of like played a hand in terms of that. And then just going on my own, spending my own money to shoot shorts. And I also shot during COVID, which is a film that me and Adam connected on, and I was Mickey Hardaway shooting the short version of it and letting that play. And it got shortlisted for the Oscar. And that kind of just led to getting the funding for the feature. And then that's how we ended up connecting, and it's been our partnership ever since, working on liquor banks. So for me, I've always used to say when it comes to film school, I always find it a waste.
It's so funny. Every filmmaker I speak to or like hear about who went to film school talks about what a waste of money it is. And it's interesting, like the ones that everyone loves, like your Tarantinos, your Nolans. They're like, I never went to film school. I just watched movies and figured it out.
I
James, on the shelf behind you, that is
Yes.
film school, right? Like how
Absolutely.
do you learn how to be a
Absolutely.
critic, or like you will learn more, maybe not as a writer, but as a filmmaker, just by watching and absorbing what hundreds of years of people have done in the visual arts. And that's, I mean, what more can be absorbed than that?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, go on.
And the thing about that too, also, I will add on, is that watching enhances the writing. Because now you already have an idea visually of what it is that you want to say, and watching those films help elevate that onto the script. So I always say, period, everything that you ever want to know in the film school is literally in those films. Sit down and watch the work. And I'm not talking about watching your favorite action film. I mean, really sit and watch films internationally.
Yes.
And abroad. So those films tell you everything possible about storytelling. It's just
Yes.
a matter is the artist willing to do so. And I always say that that's your art right there. There's your film school right there. You study those films. You study the actual films that mean something, that has something to say. It'll help elevate your craft even more than you'll ever know.
I'm so glad you mentioned international films. I'm a pretty positive guy. You might have noticed from my reviews. I don't really have a bad thing to say about anything. But maybe my biggest pet peeve is when someone says they won't watch something with subtitles, or if it's
Yeah.
older than a certain generation. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Like, why would you limit yourself from enjoyment?
Because they're lazy.
Yes, that's
They
exactly
they
what it
they
is.
they they are lazy film watchers, which is basically what we're dealing with today. And that's the hard part about seeing certain movies like Liquor Bank getting the proper kind of shine, because what you have is lazy people who can't watch something that's serious because they're always looking for something that's just go, go, go. And I can promise you, you go look at every major festival right now, and particularly in the short film category, you will see that. And you will see who's doing what, who's making what, who has something to say, as opposed to trying to show something to say, hey, I'm the next Spielberg, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, let me take a little bit more of a generous angle on that too, because I do understand where you're coming from, Marcellus, when it comes to
Mm.
international films. I think it was director Bong Joon-ho who said, it's just a 3-inch hurdle at the bottom of the screen that if people can leap over,
Mm.
they will unlock a world of stories for themselves. I actually think the reason why a lot of people that I've talked to or interacted with have shied away from international features is because they're feeling a little bit self-conscious, especially being American. I don't speak another language. And I know when we travel to Europe or wherever that might be, most people do. So I do think that there is a feeling of inadequacy that comes from some viewers. And sometimes they mask that as, well, I'm not interested in that story, or I'm not. And I think that there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't know as much about that culture. Maybe learning about a different culture or seeing a different culture on screen makes me uncomfortable. And so I think it's more of like a, let's just let people dip their toe in the water. And I think international shorts are a great way to do that. And then once they've become a little bit more comfortable, it's like riding a bike. You'll
Mm.
unlock this whole world. So I don't know. I don't I can't believe that every person who's refusing international films is a lazy viewer. Some may be,
Mm.
but I just think that there's some people that are like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. It's like trying a new restaurant. I haven't been there before. What if I don't like it? Yeah, but what if it becomes the best thing you've ever done?
Mm.
And
Okay,
so,
so I will add on to that. I'll take back the lazy perspective universally. I would say the lazy perspective is domestic. There's a lot of laziness
yeah,
domestically, and especially
I
here.
agree.
Mm.
I agree with
And
you.
and
Yeah.
and that viewpoint, for what I see, for what I'm surrounded by, there is a
Mm.
lot of lazy viewership when it comes to international work, and
Yeah.
that's something I wish would change.
Mm. I really like what you said, Adam, and it's why, and I do get criticized for this a lot, but it's why I have a lot of patience for the Americanized remake of international films, because for me, if 100 people watch the American one and 2 people go and see the original, then we've won. And for me, I think that journey began with Spike Lee's remake of Old Boy.
Yep.
Arguably not a particularly great remake, not a bad remake. I think it's a totally serviceable film. I enjoy it.
Adequate.
But after it, I went and saw the original Chan-wook Park. I'm going to get his name wrong. I apologize to the Korean community. But I went back, and then suddenly I was like, oh, is this guy my new favorite filmmaker? And then suddenly it just opened the door. I just devour everything.
Yeah.
So when people critique an Americanized remake, I'm like, yeah, but it might open the door a bit more. So let's see what it does. And sometimes,
So
oh, yeah,
when you
go,
get
go, go.
ready, when you get ready to watch Highest to Lowest from Spike, and you're going to look at High and Low from Kurosawa, that's going to be an interesting conversation. And I really hope that comes up for most of these people who have never seen any of Kurosawa's work. So it will be interesting that that new audience will find him. So I'm glad you brought that up. So, because for me, for what I've been told, I mean, I'm not going to knock the film, but it's going to be interesting to see how this new generation who will watch that movie, just because one is Denzel Washington in it, attached to Spike Lee, would they go
Mm.
back and watch the original? Because High and
Yeah,
Low is one of my favorite Kurosawa films, and I hope that's a new generation will go back and look at that and then go into him. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I have a marketing concept that I'm going to give away for free right now. I think that there should be a little online quiz that people can take on Kurosawa's highest to lowest, and if they pass the quiz, their ticket to the Spike Lee remake is half price. And I think there's something to that. So like if you do your homework, you get rewarded. That's kind of where my brain just went as you were talking, Marcellus. It's like going back to school.
Yeah.
I know I'm in there, so I think I will be okay.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if it gets butts in seats, like I think that's the biggest problem we're facing. My favorite thing, and we are going to get back on track, I promise. My favorite experience this year was going to see Sinners, and it wasn't even opening weekend. And for the first time since Spider-Man: No Way Home, I had a full theater.
Wow.
Full theater in Australia. Like the industry's we're not a big box office contributor here in Australia. We used to be, and then streaming came along, and you can see kind of falling away. Full cinema. I had someone sit next to me and like, "Hey, do you mind moving so we can sit with our friends?" I hadn't had that experience in years.
Isn't that a magical feeling?
I loved it. Normally, I wanted to be annoyed because I'm like, you should have got here early. But I was like, you know what? We're all here. We're enjoying the work of Ryan Coogler. Let's go for it. Like, do it.
So, because I know you're a big movie guy. What's your go-to theater in Melbourne? What's your favorite one?
I don't have a particular favorite one. I go to the one nearest to me that's cheapest because I'm on a budget. So that tends to. Well, actually, if I turn my camera, my favorite theater is the one I've built in my garage. That's my favorite. That's my favorite theater. So I should have do that. There you go. There's my little projector up there, just at the top of the screen.
Is that film or is that digital?
Oh, it's digital. I'm not fancy enough to have film. So that's my favorite one. Is the one that I can walk 3 steps to and get to. But I would generally go, especially by taking my daughter. My daughter has shown a real interest in film now. She's about to turn 5, and she knows that Dad loves movies, so she likes to go with me. So I'll go to the one where I can get $8 tickets, which is a steal in Australia. That's pretty good for tickets. I don't really, my favorite theater is the one that I get to go to. I don't kind of play favorites. So I don't care whether it's a huge theater or a small theater, an independent theater or a cheap theater. Just show me a movie. Like that's kind of always go on. Yeah.
I was going to bring up this for a second when you mentioned the theater experience out there. So for what I'm noticing too, just here domestically, I think sometimes what it is that the whole theater experience has shifted in a negative manner because of the way movies are presented, but even more so the way that the actual companies who are running, like the Cinemarks or the Regals or the AMCs, they don't give you a glamorous experience anymore. They'll find ways to get you in with the news recliner seats and they'll do half off on the snack bar one day and this and that, but they don't give you the fun going experience that you would have as a younger kid with all these multiplexes. So I think that's what's kind of cheapening. You can say streaming, but I still think there's no greater place in the world is to watch a movie. The problem
I agree.
Is that the work does not present that opportunity anymore. So Sinners to most people was that breath of fresh air. So one is just got to see the better product. And unfortunately, we're in an industry right now where the product just doesn't mean anything unless you can remake it or you can add on to it and you can add a bunch of faces that will come in and see it. So it's kind of cheapening the experience. It makes you not want to go. Yeah, so you build your own theater in the garage that makes it feel better.
And then I can watch all the stuff I love. I will say the one argument I don't buy into is people saying that there's no good movies out anymore. Like I find that to be BS, to be honest, because 100 years ago they were making bad movies. Like, there's more movies now, but they're still making good movies. You got to look. You got to go at it.
And there's something for everybody. Everybody has a different taste. Like, there's so many things that are out right now that I think would attract. I have 2 young kids, James. I think it's cool that you mentioned about how your daughter's really getting into it. One of the perks of my profession is that I've been allowed to bring my kids to the press screenings with me. And so, my kids have the luxury of going to school and saying, look, I got to see, Thunderbolts 2 weeks early. And I have to swear them to secrecy so I don't get fired. But it is really cool to see how this is an art form that does get passed through generations. Marcellus opened the show by talking about how much his grandma meant to him. I talked about, my mom and my dad taking us to the video store as a kid, you working in a video store.
Mm,
So this is a generational thing that on my worst day, I fear that if we don't do like what you're doing with your daughter, like showing how important this is,
mm,
that to me, it's like closing the art museums. Like we're not going to tell kids that art doesn't exist. And
mm,
so this form, this branch of the media, of the art, it needs to continue to exist because it
mhm,
means so much, especially in times like we're having in the States right now
mm.
with everything that's going on globally, like art has never been more important than it is today
Yeah.
because it allows you to walk in the shoes of someone whose life you've never walked. And you brought up Sinners and you brought up what Ryan Coogler, the massive accomplishment that he made with that film.
Mm,
I walked on the dirt of Mississippi in the 1930s right along with those
mm.
characters, and I never would have been able to do that. And
Yeah.
so that's why I think, Marcellus and I are both so passionate about this form of art because
Mm,
we want to preserve it and we want to pass it to the next generation.
yeah. And I think the other, and that was a really good segue. We're going to get right back on track. I'll make this last point and then we'll get there. I think one of the other reasons why we are seeing cinemas empty is it has been like it's always been a business. It's always been a business, but I feel like more now than ever, the theater itself is treated like a business. I would remember two cinematic experiences. The night I went to Sinners, I didn't book my tickets in advance. I just rocked up hoping to get a ticket, and I got one. And I said to the guy at the counter, I'm like, "Oh, full screening." And he goes, "Yeah." I was like, "That's great. That's awesome. I haven't seen a full screen in ages." He's like, "Yeah, I guess." And I'm like, I mean, look, even if you don't love your job, isn't it good that you're still getting paid? But like, this is a
Yeah.
great thing for theater. And the other experience that might have been just as sour is I took my dad. My dad's 74 this year, and last year before I went overseas, I took him to go and see the new Indiana Jones film, Dial of Destiny. He introduced me to
Yep.
Indiana Jones 30 odd years ago, so I was like, "Let me take you there." This was my childhood theater. No one was there. It was opening
Mm.
weekend for Indiana
Mm,
Jones. And I went to the counter. You couldn't. This place doesn't even have tickets online. You have to buy them in person. And I went to the counter, and the kid must have been like 15, 16. And I was like, two for Indiana Jones. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I was wondering what that movie was." I'm like, "What are you
oh
talking about?"
no.
I'm like, "You're
Oh,
50." And then I was like doing the math in my head. I'm like, the last time the Indiana Jones was on screen, he would have been a baby. Like,
mm.
Yeah.
and no one bothered to show him the other Indiana Jones films.
Yeah.
That was a bummer. I'll be honest. Like, that was a
Well,
bummer.
just as a little perspective, Raiders of the Lost Ark came out the week that I was born, and I'm
Mm,
44 years old.
yeah.
So, I mean, it really has it. If you don't preserve it, if you don't
Mm,
invest back into it,
mm,
it goes away.
mm. And to finish the point you're making about, we talked about Marcel's grandmother and we talked about, the movie store, a bit of a Chicago connection. The first film my father ever showed me, I'd seen kids' movies, but the first film he really gifted me was Blues Brothers. So when I was
Ah.
7 or 8 years old, he had a VHS copy he taped off the TV, and so like when I heard you were from Chicago, like the child
Yeah.
in me got excited. I was like, "Oh yeah, Chicago! Like Jake and Elwood! Like this is amazing!" Like even
Yeah.
30 years later. So that was the first film I was gifted. There was no cursing; it was off the TV. I didn't know what a Nazi was, and I was just having the best time. And then when I watched it at 15 on DVD, I was like, "Oh, my dad's kind of messed up, but okay, cool." Like, yeah.
That I'm so happy that you brought that up and that you've seen that. That the funniest thing is that there's two things that I think have stereotyped Chicago on screen, and one is of course the Blues Brothers, and then there's I don't know if you're a Saturday Night Live guy, but
Yes.
there was an old sketch for years where they would lampoon and they would parody Chicago sports fans, and it was Da Bears, and it was George Wendt, who now may he rest in peace,
Mm.
but it was Chris Farley and George Wendt and all the guys that would always eat too many sausages and chicken wings and have heart attacks, and it was all about Coach Ditka, my friend. Like, and I wish I could say that there aren't people in Chicago that don't still talk like that because they really do, but I guess fewer and fewer by the year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad I can add to the positive connection to Chicago. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Marcels, we should talk about your wonderful film. And it really is. It's incredible. As I was saying to you before the recording, I watched it again this morning. It's insane how much power you capture in 13 minutes. Before the credits. Like, I don't have. I'm very lucky. I don't have any connection to alcoholism. I don't Australia, we're not really a military country. It's not really part of our identity. We have a military, but it's very different in America from what I understand. But somehow, despite not having those connections, like I just connect so well with that story and those characters. So where did the idea come from? When did you decide you wanted to tell this story? You seem like a really fun guy. This is not a fun movie. So where did this darkness come from? Yeah.
So this is in 2023. I had just did my first feature, Mickey Hardaway, and I had a producer over at PBS who's he showed me this letter that he got from a war vet named Eddie Moeller, and I wanted to meet him. I read his story, and he introduced me to Eddie. And me and Eddie, we met at his house in Lamert Park in LA, and we just started going over his story. And then eventually, I got a chance to meet his sponsor, Baker, and we started talking about Eddie's past and things that I guess Eddie was a little too nervous to tell me about, and really starting to break down and fine tune the story. And when it came at the end of the day, he asked me would I want to make it. I was a little hesitant because one, I didn't know if I was the right director to do it justice. You know, I mean, I'm proud of, people who fight for our country and people who are willing to put their lives and sacrifice for our freedom. But I didn't feel like I was the right type of person individually to want to do this. Mm. And as I was going into 2024, I was about to work on another project, and that kind of fizzled out with the producer I was working with. I kind of came back to this. I had started finishing up a script. I sent it to Eddie. Eddie read it. He said, "Yes, I love this," and funding made itself available from an investor, and then we just went right into it. So literally, from the script to production, it was about a month. Yeah. So that's how quick it was at the end of 2024, and by early 2025, we began shooting, and that's how we're here. And I'm forever grateful to Eddie and Baker for allowing me to tell the story. But even more, I'm grateful to Sean Alexander James and Antoine Barnes, who plays the roles of Eddie and Baker, who helped bring this film to life. None of this is possible without the two of them and their incredible performances. So whatever credit is attached to me as a director, I attach everything to them and their performances. They're the ones who took the time to really fine tune these characters and delve into their lives. And didn't even really have a chance to meet them. They just went off of my notes. And I mean, it's almost as if they really kind of the spirit of these two men, because literally what you see on screen is literally how these men are in real life. And that's without even meeting them. And that's the crazy part. So I'm forever grateful to the two of them, and even more so to Eddie for allowing me to tell the story.
Yeah. You said the incredible performances, and those are the words I had in my head. Like, they're just almost transcendent. Like, just what they managed to do with such a short period of time. And, obviously, I'm going to get people's names wrong, so I've got my notes here just in case. So Sean Alexander James has, I would say, like the chunkiest dialogue. He has quite a lot to do in that. But even his scene partner, who plays Eddie, like, does so much with so little. It's all expressive. It's just what you managed to capture is beautiful and haunting, and just really tells the story. And I'm shocked. I knew it was based on a true story, but based on what you're telling me, it sounds like it's pretty much exactly as it was. So there's much room for kind of creative alterations. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, so basically I picked that one moment. I wanted to pick the moment that I really truly reflect where his change was at that time in life, where you could see he was at his absolute worst, but you see a man who has potential to overcome those demons. So it was that one particular moment that we talked about and we discussed, and I said, that's the story right there. That's the story I want to tell. And he allowed me to take that one moment in his life, and we pinpoint everything that happened that day. Same thing I did with Baker. And I said, that's the heart of the story. Yeah. I don't need to know everything that happened before. All I need to know is what happened here, because everything before will be addressed in that moment when you're seeing what happened in that situation. So for me, it was that particular moment. And we shot the whole thing in one day. I think we shot the whole film in 6 hours.
Wow.
So
oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah. So it was literally just like one of those things where just like the moment we started working on this, I knew the story, and just getting the approval from both Sean and Antoine on like their roles, knowing that they were going to kill this, I was excited. But even more, getting the approval from Eddie and getting the approval from Baker, who co-signed the script. So I felt great going into it, and what you see is exactly what we got on the screen. So
Yeah, it's incredible. But even the look, like 6 hours blows me away. I'm shocked that you managed to capture all of that in 6 hours. Like it looks stunning. Like visually, like there's some really fantastic shots in there. There's one shot in particular that really sticks with me. It's very early on when Eddie goes to lie on the couch, and you've got the camera almost pinned to the wall, and this kind of gives this sensation of this feeling of being trapped that he's in, and it haunts me. Like it's just such a wonderfully composed shot, and to know you were able to do this in 6 hours is frankly blowing my mind. It's crazy.
the amazing part about that was just having the actors hit the marks, because if they didn't hit those marks immediately right on the spot, that 6 hours probably would have been 12. We probably may have had to move push it to 2. So that's really to the credit of Antoine and Sean, just being the professionals that they are. So I already knew 6 hours, mainly because I already went in and scouted the location. And what's really good that the location we use is almost what he actually lived in real life. So I kind of already had the feel, the effect, and everything. So it wasn't really too much dressing down. It was kind of already kind of like tailor made for the pictures I had seen of the apartment that he was living in at the time. So everything kind of like just worked out to perfection. Because without it, it probably would have been a 2-day shoot.
Yeah. Incredible. And Adam, obviously we've heard kind of how you guys started to connect through one of Marcellus' earliest films. How does this kind of working relationship begin? Like, I imagine being from different states and not really knowing each other, there could be room for tension, but it seems like you guys work really well together. So how did that begin?
Oh, there was
I
tension.
feel.
Oh, there was?
Oh, big time. Yeah, no,
Oh, you got me.
It's kind of an odd story, and I kind of backed my way into this thing. But I went out to Los Angeles to interview Marcellus for his feature film Mickey Hardaway, which I reviewed and really appreciated. And I said, this is a guy whose art I wanna learn more about, not just what the art is, but the guy who made it. And so he was nice enough to sit down. We did an interview, and he keeps this notebook with him of all of these different ideas. And as our lunch kind of concluded, and as we were walking around Los Angeles, he was sharing some of his ideas with me. And so I fly back home at the end of the trip, and I checked in with him a little while later, and I was like, hey, how is this thing going? And when we were talking about Liquor Bank, and he was like, Adam, I got some really bad news. I think we're going to have to scrap it. So all of the amazing performances that we got from Antoine and from Sean, everything that really worked out in our favor, there was some back end funding that fell apart. And I don't know how much people who listen to your show know about. It's not just like cut a big check and make a movie.
No.
There's different layers to it, right? You've got to, like Marcella said, you've got to find your location, you've got to get your talent, then you've got to get your post-production team. And unfortunately, when we got to the post-production phase, the money ran out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got involved. I heard kind of the strain in Marcellus's voice. He's like, I don't know how we're going to do it. I think we're going to have to kill it. So he and I had a meeting, and we talked a little bit about, what we needed to bring Liquor Bank back to life financially, because I knew the story was going to touch people. And whether they are from countries where military doesn't have a strong presence, whether they are or are not from families that have had to deal with alcoholism or addiction issues, I knew that more than any of that, this is a story about humanity. And it's about viewing a young man in maybe the worst day of his life, but knowing at his age and with his level of resiliency that this is a motivational story that, in life, you're going to hit an apex and you're going to hit an nadir, but how do we climb back out of that hole? And that was what touched me so much about the story. And that was why I was so interested in getting involved and helping bring this thing back to life. So, saying yes to partnering with Marcellus was a very easy choice. We worked out the financials, and we're here now because we've had a run of a whole bunch of, I would say, lucky breaks, but lucky breaks that came on the tail end of a lot of hard work.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so our partnership, not look, there's been frustrating days. You know, we've had days where you know, we were expecting to get good news and we didn't. And sometimes that's tough.
Yeah.
But we've stuck together because we both mutually believe in this project. I personally believe a great deal in Marcellus as an artist. And I think Liquor Bank is something that people need to see. And like you said, James, is going to be something that people are going to remember once they've
Yes.
digested those 13 minutes. So,
Yeah.
in that sense, our partnership, I think, has been an easy one, although not
Mm.
every day has come without, you know, a couple bumps in the road.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I The other thing I really love about the short, and again, like I'd forgotten, not because it wasn't memorable, just because my brain is a sifter and everything falls out of it. But I was reminded watching this morning how much I love the score to the short as well. The music plays such an important role, and also obviously there's a choice to not have music for that conversation, and the silence is quite deafening. But that score is so haunting and beautiful and familiar, but also kind of suggests that tension between the two characters. Did you have to look hard to find someone to score it? Like, how did you that get involved?
Um,
Because I love the music. I think the music is wonderful.
so I know the composer Luke Richards. Luke is a really good composer from the UK, and I sent him the film, and Luke watched it. He loved it. He actually had the score sitting, so and he hadn't used it, and he allowed me to use it. Of course, it had to be a fee because it wasn't going to be free. But he worked with me, and I heard the score, and I remember listening to maybe 20 different composers who sent me stuff, and I just wasn't feeling anything. I heard this, and what I'll do, I'll take the music and I will play it over the film as the film is on silent, and I will
Yeah.
just play it in key moments where I want it. And if
Mm.
I know it fits, I kind of already have an idea. Like, okay, I know this will work. And I watched my film with the score about 4 different times, and I said, okay, that's it. So
Mm.
that score by Luke is absolutely beautiful, and like you said, it is haunting to me. It's one of the true heartbeats of the film. So I'm forever grateful to Luke. He actually sent me another score that just is sitting on my computer that I want to use for a film. It's just a matter of just getting the funding for it. If
Yep.
I can get the funding for it, I got another short film ready to go that I would love
We
to
got
use
an
that
artist,
score
we got a
for.
score, we got a story, we got a director.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly. So he sends me stuff, and it's just like, you know what, man? If I can get the money, I shoot all day just using your scores. But yeah, that score is one of the biggest bright spots of the movie.
Yeah, I love it. It's yeah, it just something very resonant about it just hits and just stays with you. Like it's just like the entire film. I think every element it just feels so perfectly balanced that it just all works so well that's why it is so effective and stays with you. Um, Now you're prepping for the festival circuit. Um, we haven't started yet, from what I understand. You're still in that kind of preparatory mode. What's the reception been like? Obviously, a few people. I've been very lucky enough to see it early, and a few other people. What has the feedback been like? Has it been? It seemed. I can only imagine mostly positive. Like it's a great film.
Yeah, one of the kind of interesting value added I think I can add to our team is that I do run with some critical circles and a
Mm,
lot of people who do this professionally. And so, you know, once we had the final cut of Liquor Bank, just getting it seen can be difficult because
mm,
people say, okay, where can I see it? Well, you can't show it at a festival if it's already on a streamer because people want it
Mm.
to be their premiere either regionally or a world premiere or you know a nationwide premiere. And so we have to direct to eyes send these things out individually, and so we thought you would be a great perspective to get on the film, and we did that many times over, and more often than not people were very generous with their time with us. And we're very proud of the fact that on IMDb right now, we have almost 50 critic reviews that have been loaded up. And we also have, what are we at, 14 or 15
15
on
on Rotten Tomatoes.
15 on Rotten Tomatoes. And as of today in America, it's June 14th. You know, we're sitting at a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and
nice.
those are difficult numbers to reach for a short film and for an independent short film. And so we've been very excited about, you know, some of the feedback we've been getting.
Mm. I was going to say it's you guys and Paddington too. I think are the only two with 100% moments. Good company to have.
I'll put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. That can be on the this festival poster with the same score as Paddington 2.
Yeah, there we go.
Is there anything on the horizon that you're thinking about working on, Marcellus? I know you kind of teased online you're working on something new. Is there anything you can talk about, or is that all too hush hush? Like, what lies beyond for you?
Well, because you never know who's watching, so nothing is truly hush hush.
Yeah,
I got things that I have things that I'm not going to put out for years. But this particular story, yeah, just currently working on the second feature right now. It is a drama period piece called Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
It is about a African American detective in 1966 traveling from Detroit to East Texas to investigate the murder of his mother at the hands of the Ku Klux Klan. This is a story that I've been writing for the last 9 years now. I've been fine tuning, going back and forth, multiple rewrites. I finally feel like it's in the best place that it could possibly be. And I feel great from all the feedback I've gotten from great people at We Screenplay and stuff like that. So I feel good, and I'm looking forward to hopefully, with the help of Liquor Bank, the way that it performs, it'll be able to help find the and secure the funding for it to begin production in 2026. So that is the plan to start working on the second feature, and I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. That sounds really cool. Like as you were saying, I'm like, man, that sounds awesome. Like that sounds like a great time of the movies. Yeah.
It's a crime thriller. You know what? It kind of plays off more like an art house film, but it's more. I would say more art house, more indie, but it holds a punch. So it won't be too slow, but it will be in your face style storytelling. So I definitely think that it will be something that the audience will get behind, even if it's from a poetic, artistic perspective.
Yeah. I have to mark my calendar. That sounds really cool. And I'm a big fan of art house films. So like, if you want to go route one with typical crime thriller, like that's going to be great. But I really like your perspective. I like the sensibilities you bring as a filmmaker. I think if people watch Liquor Bank, they can see you're not just telling another story. And to see the creator of Liquor Bank or the director of Liquor Bank go into this genre, I think they would have to expect something a little bit different. So that really excites me as well.
Well, that and the fact that we would have a budget, so yeah, definitely would be a little different. That's the hope. So that what I tell people all the time who will look at my work, and somebody told me this yesterday. I love your work, but it's just not. It's not flashy. And I said, well, the story is not meant to be.
Yeah.
But if I get the proper budget for something that I really want to do, I'll show you something. So that's always keeping the audience a surprise.
That does talk back to what we were saying before about audiences needing something for a certain film. Like it has to be flashy. It needs to be this. It's like, no. Like there's room for both. Like
exactly.
Yeah. If we have all flash, then we never really get surprised. So no, that sounds very cool. I'm very excited for that. And Adam, are you? I don't want to, make assumptions about your working relationship in the future, but are you going to continue working with Marcellus? Is there other projects you're involved in, or are you going to branch out and do your own thing? Like, what's kind of in the plan there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I guess we're kind of in the let's wait and see how things move forward with Liquor Bank. I would obviously be, honored to be invited to do that. But Marcellus and I have to see Liquor Bank through in order to open the next door, right? So I don't want to take the next door for granted or make any assumptions.
Sure.
But yeah, I would obviously this has been an outstanding opportunity for me. It's been one that I've been very excited about, very proud of. So yeah, if that opportunity came about, absolutely. But I just I can't put the cart before the horse, as they say.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, first of all, thank you so much, guys, for giving up some time this afternoon or this evening. I think it's quite late in Chicago. It's almost 8 o'clock. Is that right?
Yeah, the sun's still up. We get the later sun. Yeah, it doesn't get dark till about 9. But yeah, it is evening here.
It's winter here, so I'm shivering in my garage. So,
it's winter?
Yeah, in Australia.
You've never met somebody more afraid of winter than Marcellus Cox.
Oh yeah,
so the Chicago. I'll tell you this very quickly. The Chicago International is at the end of October, obviously in Chicago, and your average daily temp is going to probably max out at about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And so Marcellus being an LA kid, he's like, how many coats will I need to bring if we get I'm like, dude, eat some pasta. Like you're gonna be fine. Like thicken your blood a little.
Listen,
You said winter. I saw him shiver when you said the word winter.
That's a very Chicago answer, though. Just eat some pasta. Like,
I listen. When it drops to this 60 here, I'm already kind of like I get a shiver. So I'm
That's
already
when we
kind of
start
like,
swimming.
yeah, like I can't do it. Like right now in LA, it's 81 degrees and it feels great. But at some point, this is gonna drop to 50, and it's just gonna be like, okay, even in June, like I might need a sweater. You know what I mean? That's the kind of life I live. And I don't want to get to Chicago in October and you tell me, hey, everything is fine, and next thing you know, there's a big ass snowstorm dropping out of nowhere or something. You know,
James,
not taking any
did you
chances.
notice how for Jefferson Street, Marcellus wrote it so the detective leaves the cold weather state of Michigan and he goes to it's because Marcellus wants to shoot where it's warm. He could have very easily done that the other way. So we're having him reveal his hand here.
yeah. See, I'm the
Oh
opposite.
no.
Go on.
There is no reveal. I'm showing you literally, like it's not happening.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I can't deal with heat. If once it gets too warm, I'm out of here. I'm like, no, it's too much for me.
You've chosen an interesting place to live.
There was no choice. I was born. I was born here, but it's not as hot as people think. Like people think that's a tropical paradise. Like I'm in one of the most southerly parts in the country, so we get quite cold. Summer is garbage, but the rest of the year's not too bad. So. Sorry, that was a tangent I wasn't expecting, but I loved it. Before we get out of here, let's tell the folks where they can find you so they can go and support you. Marcellus, you first. Where can people find you online? Where can they? Can people watch Liquor Bank? Do we have to wait a little bit before they can go check it out? Give them all the details, and hopefully they'll do it.
So you can find me obviously on Instagram, SellersWorld24. You can also find me on Facebook, Marcellus Cox 24. For anyone who would like to review, right now I'm open to showing the film to critics, reviewers who would like to do a review and check out the film. You're more than welcome to contact me. For anybody else outside of that, you can also email me at coxmarcellus@gmail.com. I have no problem sharing it, sharing the link, but I would prefer people will watch it either at a festival or you can wait till the online premiere or the television premiere in 2026. But I'm always open to sharing, but in particularly with critics and reviewers, if you like to check out the film and do a review on it, all you have to do is just message me on any of the social platforms or email me, and I'll be more than happy to send you a link to it.
I got some friends. I'll see if I can get who do some reviews. I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can get some people to check it out as well.
That sounds good to me.
Although it sounds like Adam and I have a lot of mutual friends, so you might have already covered all those bases, but we'll see. And Adam, where can they find you online?
Yeah, on the film criticism side of life, I'm at moviearcher.com. Just finished with the Tribeca International Film Festival in Manhattan, and so all of that information's up there. On social media, I'm at Movie Archer on all of the socials, so very easy to find me.
Nice, excellent. I will also shout out, people can go check out the Revisions Almanac. You were both on that podcast not too long ago, and Adam, you've been on a few times as well. Andrew runs a great show, and you know he's going to be thorough with these guys, so you can go check them out there as well. But please go and check out the short when you can. If you are in the review circle and you want to watch it, get in touch with the boys. You can get in touch with me, and I'll pass you on to them. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this show. And as we say on this podcast every week, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.